Welcome back to the She Thrives Influential Women podcast. I am your host, Lori Murphy, and I am an empowerment coach for women, public speaker, and award-winning published author. And it is so good to be with all of you ladies once again today. If you are new to this podcast, please hit that subscribe button. Never miss another episode. Don't forget to download your favorite episodes. You want to continue to follow this podcast. At this podcast, we are here to, inspire, to influence, to help guide you to live fiercely and authentically. And I am so grateful that I get to provide this platform for all of you. So please don't ever miss another episode. Please hit that subscribe button and let's keep this podcast going so that it continues to get listened to worldwide. And if you are new and you don't really know exactly who I am, a little bit about me is that in November of 2024, I celebrated 13 years in sobriety from alcoholism. And my sobriety journey has led me down an incredible path of self-love, self-discovery, personal growth and development, and led me to my calling to be able to help other women along the way discover their truest potential and to be able to live in that potential and thrive. And today I have an amazing guest, Liz Coleman. She is incredible. I cannot wait for you to hear her story. She is a woman that I met at a recent networking event with a group called the 518 Get Together. And ever since her and I have met, we have just stayed connected and have really bonded. Now, Liz is passionate about helping women, 50 years or over, reclaim their journey, reclaim their inner strength to start the next chapter of their lives. Liz grew up in Burnt Hills, New York. And after living in, DC, Maryland, New Jersey, Connecticut, New York City, and Westchester, New York, she now lives in the capital region here in Albany. And she has a degree in psychology from Syracuse University. And she currently is certified as a transformational coach. She has just this incredible background that we are going to really dive into with artwork, with, all the things of, growing and coming into your inner strength. I'm going to bring her on now. Liz, how are you? Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, yeah. I'm so excited that we finally got you, on the show. I know we were supposed to do it a couple weeks ago, but I had to reschedule.
Yeah.
How was your holiday? We were talking a little bit. We just celebrated Thanksgiving. And how was your Thanksgiving?
It was great. I went to my brother's. I think there were about 20 people there, so it was a little bit of a scene, but it was good. And then we had that little snowstorm here in Albany, so that was a treat.
That threw us all through a loop. None of us were
It
expecting
did.
that one.
Exactly. Yeah, but it was good. It was all worked out. So yeah, lots of food, family, friends. It was good. It was really good. How was yours?
It was very good. Yeah, we went to my father-in-law's earlier in the day and then, ended the evening at my mother's. So we had two dinners and, got nice and stuffed.
Exactly. Perfect day, right?
So yeah, so tell us a little bit about yourself. Like I said, grew up around, you lived in New York originally, you've moved around. Tell us more about you.
Okay. So, yep, I grew up upstate and I came back full circle. And I after school, I got into fundraising. That was my career, nonprofit management and fundraising. I have a degree in psychology, so that worked out really well. All my life, I felt like something was missing. Like I wasn't like my true self. I felt a little uncomfortable, and I couldn't really figure it out. And I just kind of went on. I was kind of quiet and introverted. And I did that most of my adult life. And then when I was in my 40s, about 10 years ago, I I don't know what happened, but I started reading this book. It was called Rewire Your Mind. And it was all about how you can change, like think of the way you think and how you like your background, you can kind of almost rewrite it if you want to or need to. So I started doing that, and I thought that was really interesting. I started reading more books and then adding little things in, like I was moving more, I was walking, I started drinking more water, just little things. Like I'm very like to do the holistic approach. And all of a sudden I started feeling amazing. Like I was feeling confident, my career was going better, everything was really good. I had a daughter at that point. I don't know, I just started feeling really good, and I kept trying I tried so many different things. There's so many layers to unpack. And when I got to the other side, I was like, wow, everyone should feel like this. It's just such a great feeling, and you shouldn't have to go through life hiding or not living your true self. So that's how I became to get certified in transformation, and just really want to get out there and help as many people as I can. Love to write a book at some point, just to save people. I spent like thousands of dollars and years on figuring this all out. And I just love to be able to save people time and money so they can get to their true, living their true life and with inner
Yeah.
strength and confidence. Yeah.
So I know you said you worked for the nonprofit,
Right.
and you have your degree in psychology. Were you ever able to utilize the psychology degree alongside the coaching?
Oh yeah, for sure. Definitely. Yeah. It just helps to know where things come from and the background of psychology and how the mind works and how people interact and act. It helps to have that background.
Sure. And now, how long have you actually been coaching now?
So I think about 9 months. It hasn't been long just because I wanted to get certified. That took a little while. And I'm still working full time. So, there's a lot of things. And also, what brought me to coaching was part of my transformation was I really started exhibiting. I'm an artist, and I started exhibiting my art and selling it and just really getting into that. And that also took time too. So, I was doing that more than the coaching. And so but yeah, it's the passion really helped bring me out of my shell too. And showing the art, people are seeing you, like your inner thoughts and your expression. It's vulnerable.
Oh, yes. We were just, before we started the podcast episode, Liz and I were actually having a conversation about that. And I've shared this before in previous episodes that I also, do artwork. I'm an artist. I paint landscapes. Unfortunately, I haven't painted in probably over a year now, and I can relate to that vulnerability. Now, when was the first time you decided to get out of that comfort zone and display your art and allow yourself to be vulnerable on that level?
So it was right before COVID hit. I think it was 2019. There was a show in New York, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is because or another thing I did a vision board, and I had a gallery with artwork in it in my vision board. And I'm like, that's something I've always wanted to do. And so I went for it. I booked a hotel. I got, drove down there, put up my art. It was something. I've never done anything like that before. And it was all these professional artists were there. And I kind of had that a little bit of imposter syndrome,
Hmm.
but it went well. And sold a couple paintings, and I was like, wow, this is really something I'm gonna keep doing. Yeah, it was very empowering.
Yeah. Now, did you ever display them on a website or social media prior to putting them up in person in a gallery?
No, nope. I got the website. I did all that after. Kind of did things in different order, but yeah, I did that after.
Now you have your artwork up in a few different places in the area, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so I really love collaborating with like local businesses. So I have my art in strange places. Like I have it in a dentist's office, and I have it at a skincare place where you go and get facials and so forth. I just feel like it's kind of nice to be able to sit in the dentist chair and look over and see some nice art while you're getting your teeth cleaned. So
100%.
things
Yeah.
like that. Yeah.
I mean, I've worked in several different dental offices after 23 years, and it does help bring a sense of calm when you have beautiful art to look at, whether it's, like landscapes like I do, or you do abstract, is
I
if I'm
do.
not mistaken, right?
I do, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just adds a little pop of color. It's not,
Yeah, it brightens things up.
right.
It brings a little bit of cheer in in a very anxiety-provoking situation.
Oh my gosh, exactly. Yeah, I love that.
I
Yes.
don't know too many people that come to the dentist and, are excited to be there. So when they see something that's beautiful that can keep their mind off of it, like the colors in your artwork, because I think I've seen some of your work, and you definitely have an amazing talent.
Thank you.
Um,
Yeah, it's very
yeah,
colorful and
absolutely.
happy.
Yeah, I think so. I've done a couple of shows myself. So it's like when we were talking earlier, I had mentioned, the first time I always, when I started doing my artwork, it was really something that was self-taught, that I started as a sense of, stress relief, coping, just a healthy outlet. And one of the times, so when I first actually started doing it, I was out to dinner with friends, and one of them was getting up to leave. She's like, "All right, guys, I'm out of here. I'm going home to paint." And in her house, she had a whole room dedicated to just painting, and she did beautiful abstract work too. And I was like, "Can I come with you? I really need an outlet right now." So she's like, "Absolutely." I went over, she gave me canvas and paint, and I did my first abstract painting, and you know, it really just, released so much. So I went after I left her house. I went home, or on my way home, I stopped at Walmart, picked up canvases, paint brushes, and some paint, and
Mhm.
I started painting, and I taught myself, but I would post them on social media. And eventually somebody reached out to me and was like, "How much for this painting?" Right? And I was like,
Yes.
so that kind of set the ball rolling to starting to sell them. And if somebody expressed interest in them on social media, then we would go, we would talk about selling them, them purchasing it. But
Right.
that first time that I went to, I did my first art show at a local cafe, and um, it was a horrible experience. I was already nervous. I felt like I was, that sense of vulnerability. Like I
Yes.
am now like exhibiting and displaying myself in a way I've never done before. And I was shaking as I was hanging up the artwork. And then about a day or two later, the cafe manager called me and said somebody said that my artwork was paint and sip material and they didn't like it. So she actually asked me to take them down.
Uh,
After
Terrible.
I had this event planned for the opening. Her and I were planning, live music. I had people, 100 people
Oh,
coming. Like it was going to be this big grand opening. And I had to put it out there on social media that it was canceled. And I was mortified.
wow. That's just terrible.
So I had another one set up at a cafe across the street. And when they called me to confirm, I was backing out. I said, "I can't do it. I won't do it." I told them what happened. I said, "It's not, yeah, obviously my work isn't good, so I really don't want to go through that again." And this woman encouraged me to still do it. She told me that art is an expression of you. There is no such
Exactly.
thing as bad art. She's like,
Right.
"So
Exactly.
I went, I did it, and it was a completely different experience. I sold 5 paintings,
Wow.
had and the thing is like that is resilience right there. Like that
It
taught
is.
me a huge lesson in resilience, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. I felt compelled to share that because it's like you had mentioned, like that, you really are putting yourself out there,
Yeah.
all of your emotions. It's almost like you're kind of exhibiting your deepest secrets, right?
Right. Your inner thoughts almost. Yeah. What you're capable of, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. What got you into art?
So I've been doing art my whole life, and I took some classes when I was in school. Then I took classes out of school at different art centers. I've always been
Mhm.
in it. I've tried different things. I've tried pottery. I've tried oils, watercolors, like all the different mediums, and even paper. I made some paper out of grass one time. That was kind of cool.
Mhm.
Um, and I just always enjoyed it. I just never thought it would be more than a hobby. And I don't know, I just really wanted to try it
Yeah.
more, more showing it and selling it. So
Did you ever think that you would have your artwork displayed in all these different places around the area?
no, not at all. And it's so funny. Growing up, my mom was really into art, and we would go to galleries all the time and art shops. And she had a lot of art in her house, and it just never occurred to me that I would do that. Yeah, it's
I had to
kind of.
pick up my little space heater. Sorry about that. I'm
Oh my
keeping it
goodness.
by my feet to warm them up. So, so it's amazing, right? Like when we get to that point where
Yeah.
we're ready to share our story,
Right.
you know? It's
Yeah.
almost you must did you feel like you I maybe got like a sense of freedom or empowerment in that experience?
Oh my gosh, such empowerment and just boost your confidence. And it's just, you just have to take a chance. I mean, you can't worry about what other people think. It's for you. You have to do what's right for you. And everybody else is doing what's right for them. Well, not everybody, but I mean, people are really concerned about themselves. They're
Yeah.
not really noticing you or looking at you. And if they are, it's fleeting.
Yeah. So the very first time you put your artwork up there, I'd love to hear, like I just shared my story and how that experience went and what I felt. And, you know, I would love to hear more about how your experience went with that.
So actually, mine went a little better, I think. Um,
Probably did.
I saw a post for a show in New York, and they were
Mhm.
accepting submissions and all that. So I submitted, and I was shocked that I got in. And so I was like, all right, I guess I'm going. So I booked my hotel. I got all the art pieces together that I was gonna do, and there's quite a process. You have to take pictures and label them correctly and tell how much what they're a whole thing about them, what the story behind them is, how much you're selling them for, what they're made of,
Mhm.
submit all that and fill out an artist statement. So I go down to the show, I bring all my stuff with me, and it's quite the process, unloading and all the other artists. I think there were probably over 100 artists. It was a
Wow.
big show, and we're all unloading at the same time and trying to get up the elevator. Everybody with all their pieces, and you have to wait for the elevator to come up and down. So we got set up, and the show opens. We have an opening night, and yeah, it went really well. It lasted like, I think it was like 3 day show. So we were there on our feet for like 10 hours a day, greeting people, guests that come in that might want to buy. It was quite the experience. And everybody there, I think most of them were, longtime professional artists. And there were a few newbies, but it was eye-opening. And I don't know, I gained a lot of confidence. I was saying earlier, I did feel a little bit of an imposter syndrome going on there, but
Yeah.
um, but I don't know, it was definitely empowering to be there among the other artists, and it kind of was a great kickoff to start my professional art career. So
Yeah.
yeah,
What
it was good.
steps did you take to overcome that imposter syndrome? Like, what was it that helped you move through that?
So I did a lot of mindset work when I was working on myself, during my transformational journey. Um, I I'm always thinking positive. There's no mistakes. There's nothing negative. You can only learn from things. You're constantly learning. It's a learning experience. So I learned how to hang my art differently because I think it was sometimes the measurements were right, some things were too close together, or they were a little lopsided, or what have you. Just what to use to hang. Everybody was, and that was another thing. The artists were very helpful in telling you, how to market or what to say or how to present your art, things like that. So I learned a lot,
Hmm.
and just keep going, like keep trying new things, keep moving forward. Don't, like I said, don't let anything stop you. I mean,
Right. Yeah.
just build your confidence.
Let's talk a little bit about the transformational journey, because that is really like a huge part of your story. Like you have the art, we got on, talking about your artwork, but what I think is also like a huge empowering story is the transformation that you went through, like where you started to where you are now.
Definitely. Yeah. That's what really made me want to help other women and get into coaching. It was an amazing. I think it took me about 4 or 5 years to get through it, but I'm just can't believe I am in awe every day how amazing it feels just to be more in control and just confident and not really worrying about what other people think or not feeling guilty about not doing things for other people
Mhm.
or doing things you should or that you think you should,
Sure.
or that you were taught growing up, things like that. So I guess my daughter was little, and I don't know. I just wasn't feeling like there's got to be more to life. Like I don't want to feel like this forever. And I'd already, like I said before, I was very introverted and quiet and just not living my true life.
Mhm.
And so I started going to talk therapy. And a lot of things, like I realized I had a lot of trauma in my childhood, and that transferred to young adulthood. And I went for months and months, probably years actually. I went for like over a year to therapy. And I was reading this book, and it's like your mind doesn't know if you're actually living in the trauma or if you're just talking about it or reimagining it all the time. And so I was
Mhm.
like, okay, so I'm going to therapy every week and I'm talking about this trauma. This can't be good because it's just reinforcing in my mind that I'm living this.
Yeah.
So I stopped going to therapy and I started reading more books about rewiring your mind and mindset and just different, even manifestation books, just to get my thinking positive and clearing my mind and reframing your thoughts.
Hmm.
That really helped. And then on the other side, it was like your mind and body work together. So if your body, like I was overweight, I wasn't healthy, I was on medicine. If your body's not healthy, your mind is not going to be healthy. So I started walking, I started drinking more water, I was getting good sleep, like all the getting sunlight, all kinds of holistic things. I even went a little bit beyond that, and now I'm really into like red light sauna and cold plunging and a little bit extreme things like that. But they do work hand in hand, and I tried a bunch of other things too. That didn't really work for me, but I also feel like if you really believe in it, anything could work. Like I tried acupuncture, hypnotherapy, even crystals. I did some Reiki, I just wanted to try everything and see how it would
Yeah.
work on me. And like I said, different things for different folks. I'm sure if you really believe that, I'm sure it could work for you. Just for me, it was
100%.
more about like the basics, like the sleep, the eating, and the mindset. That's just simple and really kind of free, actually. So
Hmm.
I didn't
Yeah.
have to spend on sessions and so forth. So
Yeah. I love that. I love that because
yeah,
I feel like so I've been pretty much in and out of therapy now, probably since I was 16 years old.
right,
And, I love therapy and there's been a lot of benefits to it. But, you know, I also feel like there were a lot of times where I felt like I was still living in the problem and not the solution because I was just constantly talking about the same thing. Like there was no growth from it, right?
right,
And it's like I loved how you said that, one of the things you learned and read was how our mind doesn't really know the difference between whether or not this is really happening or not, right? It's
right.
almost like if you sit there and you're constantly telling, yourself that you can't do something, your mind believes it. But if you're constantly, so it's like that power of manifestation, right? Where it's
Right.
like, where part of attracting good things to yourself is already telling yourself that they're in existence.
Exactly. And the feeling, you got to feel it. So
You got
yeah,
to feel
definitely.
it because your brain doesn't really know the difference. And it's the same thing as if you're constantly living and talking and focusing on the event, the trauma, your brain doesn't realize that it's not actually happening. It doesn't
Exactly.
really know the difference because it's almost like that's what you're feeding it. Like that's what you're putting into it. But um I know like perfect example too for me, I was overweight and I actually didn't start really losing weight, even though I was going to the gym and everything like that. The weight started to really feel off when I started really doing the inner work and healing.
Exactly. Right. Isn't it funny how it works together?
And I am a, I've done Reiki and I loved it. Acupuncture, those are things I swear by because I think I've gotten more benefits from doing work like that than any medication. Because the
Right.
medication is just putting a band-aid on it,
Exactly.
but you're not
Exactly.
releasing or healing your inner self,
Right.
you
Right.
know? Have you ever heard about the correlation between the gut-brain axis,
Oh yeah.
the
Yeah,
vagus nerve,
definitely. Yep.
inflammation in your body? And a lot of times that chronic
Yeah.
stress, living in trauma, keeps that inflammation. And
Oh
yeah,
yeah. Yeah. And you can't lose weight. You can't you can't get healthy. It's just
yeah, because you
yeah.
got to let you're carrying all that inflammation
Yeah.
and which is causing all this unhealthy, toxic things to, exist in our body. And when we can finally release it and do it in a holistic way,
Yeah.
it's so freeing.
It is. One of the things I thought was interesting. So I had a lot of anxiety, obviously, and fear. And so
Mhm.
my doctor put me on an anti-anxiety medication. I gained like 40 more pounds. I'm like, this is the opposite of what I'm trying to do here. So that made me more, anxious and I'm upset. So
Yeah. My doctor told me the reason why we put weight on when we take those medications is because we're feeling better, so we eat more. And
I mean, that makes sense.
that does make sense, but I also wonder if there is some kind of a chemical component to it.
Right.
And I'm never telling people to get off medications or telling them that medications are bad. I mean, I do take, and not in full transparency, a low dose, prescription for Wellbutrin.
Hmm.
But I find that the practices that I use to maintain anxiety, to maintain, the depression, the PTSD, and the healing work is giving me more benefits because I'm not just putting a band-aid on it and moving through life.
Exactly. And, if you're on it for a little while or a low dose, it does. It kind of gives you that little, takes the edge off. It gives you that little boost to be able to do the work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, 100%. Like I actually was just recently talking to my doctor, but eventually, we got me off hormonal birth control, and I think the next step is maybe getting me off the medications, the Wellbutrin as well. I would
Yeah.
love to be completely med free, but sometimes we need it because there is that chemical imbalance in our minds, and these medications a lot of times are helping balance things out, even if it's just temporarily until you can get to a place where you're managing it on your own,
Exactly. Yeah, for sure.
you know?
Yeah.
So this is basically your journey has what led you to want to help other women. So what led you to want to specifically work with women 50 and above?
That's what I know. I mean, and that's what I've studied. So I feel like that's the niche I could help the most.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, I could definitely help younger women but I don't know if I can relate to the issues that are, things change all the time. So I don't know, there might be different issues going on that
Sure.
I didn't live through. So, but
Yeah.
mindset's mindset. So I
Yeah.
probably probably help.
I That's awesome. And you know, sometimes it is like I said, it's like when you niching is down to like what's the women we want to help or the age group we want to help really, I think factors into, like you said, what we know. Like
Hmm.
what because your healing journey, and your transformational journey probably started as you got closer to that time frame in your life. And
Exactly. And
that's what
also
speaks to you.
exactly. And just growing up, we women 50-year older, we grew up at the same time. And I think parenting was different back then too. It was I instead of like now parents are very encouraging and praising and so forth. And I think back then it was more they encourage through do it this way, or that's not how you do it, or you should do this, or very just a different approach, a little more negative maybe, just to encourage,
Mhm.
they would say, got to do better. So it wasn't as positive. I don't think. Maybe it was just my parents, but I just feel like it was a little harsher back then.
Hmm. Yeah, it might have been. I think that parenting styles, like as everyone knows, I'm not a parent, but compared to how I was raised to, I think how parents are today, there is a significant shift and change in how, we were parented or how you parented, and being able to guide women in those areas, I think is amazing, because I think
Yeah.
there are, I mean, and this is just by talking with other women that are, they are mothers. They have that, you know, they experience a lot of struggles, I think, along the way, you know.
Yeah.
Do you
Right.
feel
Yeah.
do you feel a part of the work that you do helps them, be able to, I don't want to say like minimize any guilt, of taking care of themselves while taking care of their families.
Oh yeah, for sure. Um, if you take care of yourself, you have all the more energy and mindset to take care of someone else. It's the whole airplane scene where you put your mask on first. So you're just gonna feel better and you're gonna be happier and more, and then people are gonna feel that and see that.
Yeah. So if you were to say, what could you tell a woman in her 50s who's listening to this podcast right now, who is, you know, maybe dealing with this place of, well, they're in their 50s and maybe they have children that are grown and they feel like they might have let life pass them by
Mhm.
and that they feel like it's too late.
Right? Yeah, I was getting there. I was getting there myself. It's definitely not too late. Oh my gosh, you have like a whole chapter left. I mean, there's just so many possibilities. You really have to take some time for yourself. Journal, write things down, write your feelings down. What did you like to do as a kid? Um, just, just take up a hobby, discover your passions, and just really start small and start in small steps, build up habits. If you're struggling with mindset and confidence and things like that, have your body and mind work together and um, make sure you're sleeping well and drinking all the holistic things. And
Sure.
you will feel better. You'll feel a little more confident. You'll feel just more in tune with your true self. And I don't know. I just think there's so many possibilities, and you can definitely do it. Everyone, if they want to work at it and put in the effort, they can definitely and persevere. You can definitely change your life.
Sure. Now I'm curious because one of the things that you mentioned, and I really liked you saying this, is writing down things that you did as a child or liked as a child. What do you feel, or in your experience, how is that effective in the journey of growth and, self-discovery?
Yeah, I feel like as a kid you're not bogged down with all these responsibilities or not even too much knowledge by the time you're 8. It's all play and discovering things. So I just feel like whatever you were that's like kind of your true self. That's your how you were born, that's your being. And if you think back to like what you used to play with, and I like to draw when I was a kid, so that was, that's how I just kept going with it. I think that's how my passion is creativity and art and expression.
So it
That
really
helps.
helps get you connected to your truer self, the real
Exactly.
authentic person that you were and always have been meant to be
Right.
before life happened,
Life.
before trauma happened,
Yeah. People.
before, your life experiences happened that may have pulled you away from that.
Exactly. Before people telling you what you should and shouldn't do, all the voices in your, people telling you things and like you said, experiences and paths you went down.
Yeah. When we were kids, everything was so carefree and innocent.
Exactly. Yeah.
We didn't have really anything to worry about
No.
besides just, you know, really just what are we going to play with and what's going to school,
Exactly. Yeah.
When you were really
Exactly.
young,
Yeah.
we
I
didn't
think
have to worry about money or careers or, families, real life struggles, you know what I mean?
Right.
Life hadn't really beat us down yet to put us in
Right.
this place where we feel like we we can't.
Right. They don't have any responsibilities. Yeah,
It's
definitely.
interesting when you think of it that way. Like the things that we experience in life and that we don't always realize actually affect us until we really look at it and it's like, yeah, that was a turning point for me.
Right. And you might think, oh, that was a mistake or that was fake. Nothing's a mistake. You can't think like that. It was a learning opportunity. You grew from it. Like I wouldn't be where I am today if I hadn't gone through all those struggles and
Yeah,
trauma. You know, you have to be thankful and
sure.
grateful.
Yeah. Now, when you sat back and connected with your younger self, what you used to do as a kid, what you played with to help you get in contact, in connection with your true self, when you actually took that initiative and did that work, um, do you remember when you realized when that turning point was for you? When things shifted from that childhood self to when life started to happen? If that question makes sense.
Yeah, I went through phase like I don't know. When I was about, you mean as life went on, like when I was 10, I remember my brothers were born, and that completely turned my life at 180. And then think I became a
Well, you
different
were an
person.
only child for 10 years and now you
Yeah,
have
and
siblings. Yeah.
so that totally upended my life. And then I was really outgoing. I was a leader. I was very happy go lucky. And then I just became really quiet and I felt pushed aside. Like, they're babies. I felt really pushed aside after having my parents' attention. And my mother was stressed, so she yelled a lot, and that was unusual. And just, I don't know, it just didn't go well from there. So,
So
after
the
I was, after I went to college, I kind of moved out and went on my own for a while. And I was scared, didn't really have the tools for socializing or just getting along in the world. I don't know how I went wrong there, but I was just very introverted and quiet, and I wasn't very happy. And it took a while. I finally got married later and I had my daughter, and then I just said, this has to stop. I want my old self back. I want to be like I was, when I was a kid. So,
yeah.
yeah,
Wow. I love your story.
yeah.
It's interesting because you had your siblings when you were already 10 years old. So you went all those years being the only child, the center of of your parents' attention. And now you have to share that. But like you said, now mom's yelling more because she's, running out of patience and that's
Mhm.
unusual and just things that I think is a great way of like describing how things shifted for you. That was a turning point for you.
Yeah. And as a kid, you don't realize what's going on. So I thought it was something I did wrong. I took it in person, but it wasn't. It was now as a mom and as an adult, I know it wasn't her fault at all. She was just tired and stressed and so forth,
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Sleep deprived and
exactly. So
yeah, when our bodies are running on empty and we are just at that point of exhaustion, our fuse is just there is no fuse. Like if we are just running at a very low frequency and are are short and we snap easier and our buttons are pushed easier. So,
right,
and how would anybody understand that as a 10-year-old?
right.
Especially when that wasn't something that you were used to.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, like I said, it just shifted everything. So, but
So
I'm
when,
grateful that I went, I figured it all out and I went through this, even though you would think, oh gosh, you wasted all those years. But like I said, I don't know if I'd feel as good. I don't know if I would have gone through this if I was happy, if I was content and
yeah.
living in. So
So one of the things you had mentioned earlier when you were talking about your transformational journey, you were going to therapy and, doing all this inner work. But what was the turning point for you that made you realize that something needed to change?
yeah, that's tricky. I wonder that myself. Like, what was the? I don't. I just. I don't. There wasn't like a aha moment. I just felt awful, and I was sick of it. I was it'd been years of therapy, and just I was overweight. Like I said, I just wasn't feeling good. I was on meds, and I don't know. Like I said, I was going to therapy, and I read the book about rewiring. I guess that was the turning point. I read the book. It was by Joe Dispenza. It was about rewiring your mind and how,
He's good.
yeah. So I think that must have been the turning point, because from there that kind of catapulted me into trying all these different modalities of different. I even tried this thing. I bought this thing. You put it on your head with these sponges, and it shoots like a little electrical currents into your head. It's supposed to calm you. It's they actually have a professional version of it. Um Magnetic resonance. It's like brain image, brain
Mhm.
magnetic brain I've something. It's about where they shoot electrical currents into your brain at very low dose, and it's supposed to work on like calming and so
Yeah.
yeah, I didn't it didn't do much for me, but I've done like strange things like that. So I just
Yeah.
tried everything, and
You were sick and tired of being sick and tired.
exactly. It was
And, sometimes we don't have to have an actual experience happen that indicates I got to make changes. Like for me, it was getting arrested for DWI and sitting in the back of a police car that was like, I need to make a change in my life. I can't do this anymore. Now, mind you, full, just to clarify, I didn't hurt anybody. There was no accident. I just had got very lucky to have an officer who saw that I was, impaired by my driving and pulled me over and didn't take my bullshit. And you know what? I am so grateful for that experience because that was my turning point. But for you, it was that I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired, and then you're doing all these things already, and you read something in a book that
right.
sent that signal to your brain that just set you going without you even having to really even be fully conscious of it.
Exactly.
Sometimes we get those messages just by reading something that just clicks. Something
Exactly.
clicks.
Hmm.
And that's incredible that you were able to just go with that. Like something clicked and you were like, I'm going with it.
Yeah. It just opened my mind up. I'm like, wow.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And now you help women with the same things.
Exactly. Yeah. And I've worked with a bunch of people so far, and you can notice a difference just talking to them. It's just like it's so I'm just so happy for them, because it just the feeling just when you heal is incredible.
Yeah. There's so much power in the mindset and there's such it's so freeing when we finally heal those old wounds and we finally find solutions rather than staying in that problem.
Exactly. And it's not like night and day. It's not like, oh, one day you wake up and you're like, oh, nothing's gonna bother me from now on. I'm healed, so forth. I mean, of course you're gonna have bumpy days, but the way you look at it is totally different, and it's not you handle it better.
Yeah. You're a true inspiration, Miss Coleman.
Thank you.
I'm so glad that God placed you in my path. So, if anybody listening to this episode wants to be able to connect with you, to reach out to you, how can they find you?
So I am working on my website now. Don't have a website, but I'm on Instagram at real Liz Coleman. And should I give my email address if they want to get me? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, so it's Elizabeth Coleman 26 at Gmail.
Perfect. And I will be sure to put all of that in the description of the episode so that they can certainly just go and, get in touch with you, find you, and be able to connect with you. And if anybody would like to connect with me, if you have anything that I can be a guide if, or answer any questions for you, please do not hesitate to reach out to me at you can email me at L M as in Michael C, empowerment at gmail.com. You can also find me on Facebook under Lori A. Murphy, Empowerment Coach for Women. I will put all of my contacts into the description as well. I also am trying to get a website up and going. So, 2025 is going to be the year for us, Liz, where we
It
finally
is.
get those websites.
That's right. Definitely.
Oh, it was such a pleasure to have you. Thank you so much
Yeah.
for joining us today.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. This was fun.
Oh, absolutely. We'll have to have you come back as as your journey continues to go. I'd love to be able to,
Uh,
have you share more.
yeah, that'd be great. Definitely.
Awesome. Well, everybody, thank you so much for listening. And until next time, let go of fear and let your spirit shine.